Yeah, 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 oh. Have you ever walked away from a marriage? What did you lose in that season? The relationship or pieces of yourself? Today, we're looking at a divorce through the lens of grief. Joining me today is Onita Simpson. She is a mother of two adult daughters. She's an Army veteran, HR and manpower analyst for the government, public speaker, photographer, published author, and my friend. She's going to share what that season looked like for her, how it impacted her identity, and what it took to transition from loss into rebuilding. Friend, welcome me in welcoming Onita. Hey, friend.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Good, good. I'm excited about this conversation.
Okay. All right. So, this topic is iffy one, and not a lot of people relate it to, grieving, like after, but it is a loss of something, that you invested time and energy and expectations and so forth in. So, let's go ahead and get started with the relationship itself or wherever you want to share. Like, how did you get to having to walk away from that marriage?
So, like you said, the topic is about divorce and how it relates to grief. I was married for 10 years and we met in the military. We had two children while we were both in the military. And as time progressed, we started moving in different directions as far as what we wanted as individuals, as well as for our family. As time progressed, you start to see this isn't going in the direction that we initially started. And we were young when we got married. I think we were 21. Yeah, 21. So by the time we were 31, we were divorced. But in that time frame, this is somebody that you've grown with in your 20s. You're raising children together. You live together. Like you're going through life issues and trauma and tribulation together. And then all of a sudden, now you're pulling away. And I like to say, divorce is grieving someone who's still living versus grieving a loss of a spouse.
Mm, wow, that's so true because you are I mean, like you said, the person is still living, right? Still breathing, still existing, as are you. So you have to, battle that particular those emotions. All right, you already know I have my questions, and friend, I have them written down because I don't my memory does not memory like that. So my first question then, and again, you are share what you feel like sharing, what you're comfortable sharing. But during that season, did you ever feel like you were losing your identity? Did you go through any identity battles? Because for some women, and we'll just speak to women because we're women. I don't know what it is to be a divorced man. I have gone through a divorce as well. But did you have any feelings as far as losing that title, wife, and so forth? What exactly did you go through as it relates to your identity?
So, one, I was 21 when we first got married. Your 20s, you're really trying to figure out who you are, what you like, what you dislike. You're learning about yourself. But because I was already married, we're already compromising and coming together what we want to be. So when I was going into my 30s, at 31, I'm going through a divorce. I don't know what I like to do on my own. I don't know what I even like to do for myself. Like, what is it that I'm interested in? What is it that I want to do for my children outside of someone else and someone else's goals? So my goals changed. Who I was had to change because I went from a two-parent household to now one parent, and everything, all the decisions are my decisions because they live with me. So do I become mom and dad? How do I navigate this? How do I show up for my children still because they're also grieving? And it's a lot to go through, but I know for me, I just prayed and was like, Lord, help me raise these children the way you want me to raise them. And I'm not bragging on my kids, but I mean, I hit the jackpot. They made it very
Yeah.
easy for me. But yeah, I had to learn all over again. I had to date myself. I had to sit with myself. I had to realize that this wasn't just it wasn't my fault, and I realized I had made marriage an idol. Like, I had to be married because that's what I knew, and those were the people around me talking about, "Oh, marriage this, marriage that." Nobody ever taught me how to be single. So, because I was a young adult going into marriage, I did not know what it was like to be by myself until I was in my 30s. And by then, you should pretty much know who you are, and what you like and things of that nature. So, I did go through depression and anxiety because who was I outside of this marriage? I did not know that, and I had to learn. And it was one of my coworkers who said, "You gotta get out of the house. Start going places that interest you. Go to the zoo by yourself. Go to the movies by yourself." So still to this day, I mean, I've been divorced since 2013. I still go to the movies by myself, and I have a blast. Like, this is my pastime. I like going to the movies by myself. I don't mind. I'll go to the restaurant by myself. So just learning how to sit within myself, with myself, and enjoy my own company was part of that process of starting over after the divorce as an individual, independent of a marriage or relationship.
Wow. Yeah. And friend, she has she has a beautiful daughters, very successful. Of course, your role in that, don't like knock yourself down, has played a tremendous amount. But as individuals, they are lovely beings, human beings. But again, like you had said something when you had mentioned having to rebuild yourself. Because again, especially when your circle before you got married is always talking about marriage. And that's in every circle too, not certain settings, right? Not just I hear it a lot in the church setting, but it's not just in the church setting too. But it can be within your own, your friend group. Like, you got to get married. I am only 20. Like, wait a minute. If you're there and that's your place of maturity and that's your goal, great. But if that's your circle telling you doing that, that's something else. And I remember having somebody was asking me that, young lady, and I was like, slow down. Like, just, discover who you are, be patient, like, but don't make it, like you said, an idol to where you like,
Mhm,
I have to? Like, no, you don't. You have, X amount of time to live your life and be sure you live it. And but if, that person comes along and then it's time for you to get married, then go ahead and do so. But don't make it like you're mentioning. You do have a tendency to make it a idol when the wrong people, or can make it an idol when the wrong people are in your ear, like a goal to attain. And that's all that you
mhm.
can do. But yeah, and then the other thing you said about having to find your identity. I've heard women mention that, like when you were in your 30s, you should know who you are, but after you've been married for so long, you have to rediscover who you are.
Mhm.
I know you mentioned a little bit, but how did you do that? Because I've noticed a lot of women do struggle with that after a divorce, and they're trying to figure it out, like for real, like who am I? Like, what exactly did you do other than just like dating yourself? What did that? If you can go into a little bit more detail about that, because there are some women that just they don't even know like where to get started.
I first started by praying and asking the Lord, like, what am I supposed to be doing here? Because
Yeah.
you'll get lost in the loss of the divorce. And
Mm.
then you start to break down as I wasn't good enough. That's why this happened. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. Those thoughts constantly going in your head, then you start to believe it. So for me, I just started praying and asked the Lord, help me to navigate this new area of life because this is a new chapter. This is all new to me. So learning to sit with the Lord, asking what it is I'm supposed to do, that's helping to combat the depression, the anxiety, abandonment because you feel like somebody abandoned you. Like we had a goal, we had a deal. It's over. So now how do I set new goals for myself? And I'm very goal oriented anyways. So I had to sit and go back to who I was before. It was like you're time traveling back to who you were before. What did you like before? Because you set these things aside for the family.
Yeah.
And it was, no, I always wanted to graduate college, so let me finish. I had already had a undergrad by the time I went through the divorce. So I was like, you know what, let me just go to grad school. Let me focus on that because that's something that I wanted to do. So I went back to school. And in that, I was in grad school going through a divorce with a 8 and 9-year old. And looking back at, I don't know how that even happened. Like, I know it was nobody but the Lord, but also self-determination that I have to do this for my daughters. I have to show them no matter what happens, you are responsible for you. And at the end of the day, I'm going to leave here. I have to take accountability of my time while I am here. So getting out of that whole, woe is me, not saying that you should not grieve the divorce because that's a part of the healing process, but don't get stuck in it. Because when you get stuck in it, that's when you become complacent and you get comfortable. And for me, complacency and comfort is where you start to die. I refuse. I will keep moving regardless. Sitting with the Lord, being honest, doing honest assessments of who I am, where I want to go. Is this achievable? What part do I play in this? Setting out goals and mapping it out. How can I get to this next point? Because the divorce is something that happened, but I don't have to stay here in it where I can't move forward. I'm debilitated. I can't grow. My daughters are looking at me. So that's a big thing. And because we are talking about or talking to women, if you have other women in your life that are looking to you, you don't, I mean, I'm not saying that you can't grieve. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying, oh, no, you can't. You got to, no, take your time. Take your time. However, there is a point where you have to get up and start walking again before, and then even if you got to crawl and then you can walk and then you start running. So whenever I talk to women who are going through divorce and I'm seeing what they're going through, I'm automatically going to start encouraging. Yep, I understand. You're doing a good job. I see you moving. If you need some encouragement, let me know. And I mean that. Let me know. Because we can get stuck in our heads and in our thoughts of we're not good enough. And I know I probably went all the way off of where we initially started, but I'm serious. Like, you got to get up.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're right on target. Listen, you are right on point. And I'm glad you mentioned like you went back to school and do not get complacent because, that can be a thing too, where we forget as prior to marriage, like you were already someone, you know what I'm saying? Like you already
Hmm.
really had goals on the inside of you and things that you wanted to do. So why stop in that place? Cause like you said, you can't get complacent, like, and just think, well, what other qualities about myself do I have? Other than just being, a wife, because, a wife is not a job position, it is not your identity actually, and
Right.
so you have to find who you are, like you mentioned, in Christ, so that way you can really move forward in the purpose that God has called you to. And I love the fact that you said your why was your daughters, to push you even more. And I'm sure a piece of your why was also yourself, as
Hmm.
well, a little bit to, the version of you that, God's called you to be. But even for those women, I mean, even men, even though, because men go through divorce, women for, talking to specifically a woman, like, even if you do not have children, you still have a why. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a
Yeah.
single woman, no kids, like, you still have an identity, you still have a purpose and so forth. So my next question for you then is, was there a part of your grief that you felt you had to hide, especially as a mother, a veteran, a strong professional that you are? You know how us veterans can be sometimes on top of, so it's like all these things compiled, did you feel like you had to hide anything about what you were going through, or like, feeling like you had to have it all together and then like privately, deal with what you were dealing with? How did you handle all of that?
That's a good question. And yes, I did because I was ashamed. I was ashamed. So I didn't want the sympathy of people. So I just completely just went off of social media. One, I didn't want the sympathy. Two, we had a lot of mutual friends because we were in our 20s, all of our 20s together. So we have a lot of the same friends. And I didn't want people reporting back to him, and I didn't want people telling me what he was doing. So I was like, nope, I'm just going to log off. And I logged off for, I think, like 6 or 7 months. And then at 6 to 7 months, that's when I was spending time with the Lord. That's when I was grieving, like crying. I was depressed. I couldn't get out of the bed on the weekends. So for me, the answer is yes. I felt like this is what I had to do because I didn't want the questions. I didn't want the sympathy. I didn't want people in my ear or telling me, I'm seeing him do this or them telling him. We're already in a tumultuous situation right now. Okay, we got two small children, and I don't want this to bleed over into them more than it has to. So if I gotta sit and be still without social media, without voices from outside, then that's what I gotta do because at the end of the day, I'm not only responsible for me, I'm responsible for my daughters. And I'm gonna be the front line of protection for them. I'm not going to do things that I know that would harm them, even if that's talking about him negatively. I never did that because why would I? They are half of me as they are him. So there's no reason for me to do it. Even though I'm angry, I cannot do that. If I truly love them, I can't do it. So it's just a lot of emotions that are going on. And it was best for me just to pull away from everybody except for family. And even some family members didn't even know that I was going through a divorce because I didn't say anything. I don't want the questions. I'm already dealing with a lot of questions from my kids every day of why aren't we doing this anymore? Where is daddy? Where is this? So it's like, no, I'm just gonna disappear. I'm gonna focus on me, my children, work, and school. And that's what I did. So yes, I felt like it was best for me to pull away and go into hiding. I mean, if that's what was necessary to do it.
Yeah. 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 Which is, I mean, I feel like it's necessary, because sometimes, I mean, you have to protect your peace, and then you have
Hmm.
children, so it's not like you by yourself, that'd be different, but now you have to protect yourself and your kids, because it's one thing where you gotta take on, whatever's coming, because you don't know how other people are gonna react, what they're gonna say, you can
Hmm.
take it as an adult, know what may be surrounding your children, and just saying that, because not a lot of people, and I know you've seen it, I've definitely seen it, handle relationships with children successfully. And when it comes to not talking about the other parent in front of the children, even like when you're with friends and your kids are right there, y'all just out together, whatever. How do you deal with that in a mature way to help somebody else that may have a problem with like talking down their spouse like in front of the kids? Because I think we forget sometimes as adults, even though that hurt is there, the kids are
Hmm.
listening.
Yes.
I know you can remember. I can remember things as young as 5. You know what I'm saying? So kids absorb things even when you feel like they're not. So how did you handle that? How would you suggest somebody that is having an issue like talking about their ex in front of their kids? What would you suggest for them to do?
Well, number one thing, and I wrote this in my book, is I loved my daughters more than I hated him.
Mm,
So then that became the focus. I loved them more than my dislike, my disdain for him and his choices. And then second, I didn't cause the divorce. So there's no reason for me to advocate for myself in that way because years are going to come and things will be exposed on their own. And as they're exposed, your children are getting older, they're asking the questions because they always wanted to know, they just didn't know how to ask. And at the right time, you can have this adult conversation, which is what we did when they were adults, when I knew they could handle the conversation. But I never spoke negatively about him because honestly, I didn't need to. And that's not a burden that they needed to carry, where it's
right.
going to affect them at a younger age and it's going to harden them in a way that's going to take years for them to be softened again. No, I loved them more than I hated him at the time. And I don't hate him. I'm using that because that's what I said in the book. But that was the priority. Love is always a priority. So if I focus on them, I don't have time to talk about him, what he's doing. My
Right.
focus is how can I be present for you? What is it can that I can do for you to be successful? And that was to ensure that I had a loving, caring environment at home that they could live in, thrive in, and mature in into the women that they are today. And they still say, "Mom, you never said anything negative about him." I don't need to. I don't need to.
Listen, but I'm glad you used that word hate because not everybody, what I'm saying, is in a place of peace, maturity, or knows, the Lord at this time. Hello, me and you both, we have not all Jesus. Okay. But sometimes it gets real like that. They're like, I can't stand your guts. Like, you're just there with that person and then you forget the bigger picture. Like you mentioned, the bigger picture was your girls. It's not like I hate this person so much and I gotta, and I just can only imagine too what that's also doing to you, the individual, that you're just like, you're in this predicament. It is what it is now, right? Because it's turned out to be, this the marriage has come to an end, but now, you're vocalizing all these emotions outwardly because of what you're going through inwardly, but your children are around you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I do think, like you said, you have to think about the impact on your kids more so and let that be
Yeah,
the bigger why. So let
absolutely.
I want to also know too, because I was thinking about, like I said, and we'll get into a little bit of that. I'm have you share just a little bit of the success of where your daughters are today, just so because it paints a bigger picture of where you went, what you went through, and where you are now. But how did you? I know you said you when they became to an adult age, right? You had the
Mhm.
conversation with them. So adult age for you, for the girls was what, like 17, 18, 19, 20? Like when did y'all have like that hard conversation? And then how did you walk them through it? Because, you still have, it's obvious, right? Whenever one parent leaves the home, it's not like you can just pretend and be like, well, daddy's on vacation, or mommy's on vacation. I know some people do that. I've heard that too. And I'm like, huh? Like y'all confusing people. So how do you keep it 100, while they're going through their growth ages, and then at that adult age, now you're like, "Okay, now I can tell y'all what it really is, the real deal."
So, I waited until they were 18 and 19, and, they were just asking questions before, and I had already told them, I said, "Once I believe that you are mature enough to handle certain answers to your questions, I will not lie to you. You
Mm,
can ask me whatever you wanna ask me, but not before I believe you are able to handle the heaviness of it." I said, "Because I've already gotten through it. We made it at this point, but still, it could be something that you're not mature enough to handle the answer to your question." So they were 18 and 19. My oldest daughter, she didn't ask any questions. It was the younger one. She was already 18 and she was like, "Okay, you said that you would tell me the truth, that you would answer any question that I have." And I was like, "Oh gosh, here we go." She was like, "So I got a question. What really happened?" And I said, "Okay, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna start by saying I never spoke ill about your dad. I'm not gonna talk bad about him now, but I am gonna tell you the facts. I'm gonna tell you the truth." So didn't talk about him that way because I still wanted them to have a relationship with their dad, because we as humans, it could be divorce, it could be, a boyfriend, girlfriend, it could be a sister friend that you have.
mm.
If somebody makes you mad, or a family member, you will pick up the phone and you will tell somebody you're close to, "Look what this person did to me," because you want them to side with you. I didn't need my kids to side with me. So I did not tell them things because they're children. I don't need to turn their hearts. I know I'm in place. I've been in place, so I don't need to use those things towards him or against him. So when they did ask, I said, "All right, I'm gonna tell you some stuff, but if you feel like you're going to cut up or be disrespectful, we got to talk about that, because the reason why I didn't tell you, because I know that these things will hurt you, and I don't want you to be bitter towards men in general because of this, because this is just one incident. This is me, but again, I'm their mom. They're going to be protective of me. They're going to want to lash out." And they didn't. They did not. She said, "I kind of figured that's what happened, but I knew that you weren't going to talk to me about this until you felt like I was able to receive the answer to my question in a healthy way."
Yeah, because 'cause you're raising at the same time, like, you're raising young women, and you already know the impact being a woman, how that would affect them, and that's why I wanted to, like, kinda touch on this just a little bit because, like, me and you, we come up in the generation where it's, adult business is adult business, don't ask me no questions, like, stay in
Mhm.
if you had that household. I definitely had that kinda household, and again, I
Yeah.
say if you had that kinda household, because not everybody's household was like that. Some people actually had healthy communicative relationships with their parents. I've already shared, my father was not one to talk about like stuff. And I did come up in like don't ask me no questions, don't, stay in your lane type of thing. So I like that you're able to like to show people like, yeah, you can have a healthy conversation with your children, healthy communication. They are growing into young adults. So that's, essentially setting them up for success to have, healthy relationships with not just, their future, boyfriends or spouses or whatever, but also other people, in general. Like this is how it's done. So you modeled that before them. So I love that. So now my last question for you. Well, not my last question. It might be my last question. I always say that, and then I just be, so I'm gonna try, like I said, I try not to hold you today, sis. Okay, so this is another question I have for you. So what was the turning point where you shifted from surviving, to rebuilding yourself? And what did rebuilding require that you weren't prepared for? So when I say that, I mean like, so did you go to therapy? Did you, or was it just, about more like your faith? Which one did you pull on more, or was it a compile of both? Did you have those like that circle? I know you said you had to isolate, but did you gain like relationships and friendships and people that really like pulled you through to, when you had those down moments outside of the resources that you were already using and your faith?
So I really relied on my faith. That's number one. And just the fact that I know this isn't the end, this is just a part of my whole story. What can I do to show somebody else who was where I was that this isn't the end, that it does get better? But you have to do the work yourself, whether it's faith based or whether you go to a therapist or both. But just knowing that I can encourage somebody else, you can do it. And then also realizing who I am as a woman, as a mother in society. Like, no, statistically, they'll say that you should be X, Y, and Z. I refuse to allow a statistic or somebody who doesn't know me to determine how I turn out. I'm not going to do it. So just knowing that I do have the power, I possess it, I have the Holy Spirit on the inside of me, I can do things that never could have imagined before. And I actually did do it with the help of the Holy Spirit. So, me personally, it's a journey. It's not overnight, it's a day by day, step by step process. But knowing every day that I got up, I made a decision. I'm not going to allow what happened to me to determine where I go in life. And because of my childhood, I wasn't raised by my parents after the age of 5 because of other things. If I can get through that, okay. It's like, girl, you
Yes.
better get up. Like, seriously, you better get up. So that in itself, and then learning who I was over again. Now I've gotten some of the same friends, but because now I'm using more encouragement, it's drawing more people to me because they're seeing that, oh wow, she's in grad school, she's got two small children, and she's working and going through a divorce. Like that's nothing. Like what I'm going through ain't nothing compared to what she's doing. So let me call her. Let me glean what she's gone through. Let me ask the questions. And I was always open, like, okay, yeah, this is what's going on. Who are you outside of that? I mean, at the end of the day, like I told my children, you can't really let me down. You let yourself down. You let your future self down by decisions you're making today. So you decide what you want to do because those decisions are going to meet you as you continue to grow. So you decide today what you want to do, and that's all I'll tell anybody: decide today what you want to do. That your future self is going to be thankful for that you made that decision to continue to go and keep growing.
Yes. Listen. Now I know we have been giving credit to God because that's what we do. Okay. We Jesus girlies over here. We are Jesus girlies over here. But in saying that, can you attest, I know for myself, but, on your take on it, all of that and all the things that you have had to endure, how or I don't want to say how easy, no, I'm going to say that. I'm going to use that word. Okay. How much more easier was it to go through what you went through with, having the Lord on your side and you knew God was there versus not having God? And the reason why I say versus, because again, like I said, we all have a BC, right? So when I tell you, I remember what it was without Christ, listen, I remember. Sis, what would you say to encourage somebody else that may not even know God and is trying to do this thing on their own? And I know we all have our own we got that get up and go about us, some of us, right? Some more than others, a little bit better than others. But what would you say that having God in your life really, really played a impact?
That's good. First off, if you're just me, I can't project. But when I was trying to do it on my own, it wasn't working. Like my strength was running out. My energy was running out. And then it's cyclic. It keeps going in circles. Like I think I can do it on my own. I'm good for a little bit, then I'm burnt out. Or something else will happen and I'm not it's not clicking. So I was like, you know what? If I do it with the Lord, his resources don't run out. So if I need the strength, he's going to give it to me. If I need endurance, he's going to give it to me. If I need hope, faith, mercy, grace, he has all these things. So why would I try and exhaust myself when I can go to the Father who is inexhaustible? Like it just doesn't make sense. In the
That's
world, this is not it's temporal, put it like this is temporary. You could go to the world, try and do it on your own, you're gonna end up not I'm just saying, me personally, I ain't gonna project. I could have ended up on drugs because I wanted to do it the world's way. I could have ended up on or being addicted to alcohol because I'm trying to numb it versus dealing with it. So I'd rather deal with it, allow the Lord to deal with it so that way I can move forward and I'm not taunted and tormented for years about the same things that if I had just given it over to him in the first place, that I would be so much further along mentally and spiritually. And that makes me better, not just for myself, but better for my children, better for the people that I love, better at work, better for my environment. So I would definitely say, don't try and do the heavy lifting. You're not strong enough to carry this burden on your own.
Listen, look, because definitely your life is, I would say, one of those beautiful lights of an example of like, look what the Lord can do. Okay. Like, let me, step back for myself. And again, not to good choice of words that you use, not to project on anybody else, like what you should be doing. Like, no, this is an example. And I believe that's how, God's children should be used. Like, let me show you where I was. Okay. And
Right.
then, this is what it is now. And so in saying that, and listen, I done said I was gonna correct myself and not say so many times, but it's not working out
It's
either way.
okay.
So in saying that, I want to get into a little bit. You don't have to share their names if you don't want to, but I want to talk about the success of your daughters because I want parents out there to feel encouraged. Like, y'all, you can make it. You can make it. Your family can make it. Your children can make it, no matter what you have gone through, especially as it relates to a divorce. And you're feeling like you don't see no way out of it, but a good mention, lean on God. But also, can you just share a little bit about where your daughters are at now, how they're thriving and successful and what they're doing, so forth. And then I want to get into your accomplishments, but we'll save that.
So I'll start with a story that happened, and this is a true story. I was in my apartment, and I forget how many years I had been divorced by then, but I was just complaining, put it like that, having a hissy fit with the Lord. And I was like, I never wanted my children to only have one parent. I wanted them to have a father. I should be remarried by now. And you know, this is not fair. And I was getting ready to leave to go to work. I was at the front door and I heard clearly on the inside, y'all know, okay, have I not provided for you? And it just, I went to work, I had to put in leave and I had to leave work because it hit me so hard that I'm sitting here I'm thinking I need a husband to do all these things. And the Lord has made sure that my children have had great Christmases. I've been able to take them to Madrid, Paris, Barcelona, the Bahamas, Mexico. We've been on multiple cruises. And I'm complaining about a man and clear he said, "Have I not provided for you?" And it was like a gut check. Like, oh my, it was a good gut check, but I had to take off work and sit with that. And I say that before I go into my daughter's success because he has provided for them this entire time. And they both, graduated high school. They were able to go to college. They got scholarships for college. My oldest daughter, she just graduated in December and she's actually doing her clinical hours. She graduated with a speech language pathology degree and she's doing her clinicals where she has to have 100 hours. She'll complete that in March, but she just got a tentative job offer with the people that she's doing her clinical hours for this week.
Mm,
And I know it's because they saw something in her that she's kind, she's gentle, and it's someone they want on their team. And my youngest daughter is in school to be a LPN, on the journey to be a BSN, and I forget what it's called, but it's like when you have your own practice, PRN maybe. I don't know the
okay.
things, okay, but a nurse
That's why I'm
practitioner
like,
maybe.
okay.
But she's on her way, and they have not had to pay for college because of a decision that I made years ago and speaking over them saying, I'm not going to pay. I'm not going to get a loan for you to go to college. And their grades were good enough where they got scholarships to go to school, or me being a veteran and their dad being a veteran who retired and gave benefits to them for them to be able to go to college. So everybody that meets them, my prayer has always been that they will be a blessing to everyone that they meet. And so far, that's what everybody has said. They are loving kids, and I wanted to keep them soft regardless of what was going on. And when they're going through things now, they don't hesitate to come and talk to me, Mommy, this is what's going on. What do you think? And if you have adult children, sometimes they know everything. They don't want to hear it from you. They don't. So to have them come and say, what do you think at 21 and 22? That's huge because they know that they can talk to me, and I've always treated them that way where your voice does matter. You can talk here. I need to know what's going on with you so I know how to pray because there's some things that I don't know, but God is all knowing. So if you can just share a little bit with me, I'm going to take it before Him and ask Him, what is it that I need to do for them and guide me in that way. So He really has provided for them in ways that I never could on my own. The math don't math, Nina. I'm telling you, it don't math. The things that they've been able to do, the things that I've been able to do for them. And I know who the source is. As long as I stay tapped in with the source and I'm walking with him, I'll never be depleted.
Listen, the favor of God is so beautiful. It's such an amazing, and I just wanted you to share that, with our viewer listening because it's just different when you're not doing it within your own strength, right? Number one. But then also it's so important because like you said, it could have went either way of just showing how what a praying woman, or praying individual, what that is like. Not saying that your journey was easy, right? Because you mentioned that saying that every day was great, not saying right? Because you went through the depression, the anxiety, I should be married. Hold up now, and having real conversations with the Lord. Like you wasn't fluffing nothing up, like, walking around like everything is great, everything is perfect, super, super, we in our Bible every day, 24/7, super holy. Like, no, life is life and for
Mhm.
real. But God was showing you favor at the same time. So I thought that was is very impactful just to think back to say when God had stopped you at that moment and said, have I not provided? Have I not provided for you? That's good. That's real good because sometimes you do gotta think back and be like, "You know what?" Because 'Cause I've definitely had those moments too, just even recently. "You're right, Lord. You're right." Let me get off my soapbox. Now, so if you have been following this particular channel or, my podcast, you all already know that previously my podcast was titled That Dose of Encouragement, and Onita, my friend here, she's already been on here, like, a couple times. Oh, she's great with our presence, but I have not had the honor to have her on, like, via like this on the YouTube channel, so that's why I really wanted to bring you back on, sis, so that the world may be introduced to you this particular way and all the great things, that you're doing and the beautiful woman that you are, because 'cause you're definitely one of those inspiring, encouraging she's one of those friends, you all, that just she's gonna show up, like, if you ask her to. If it's availability on her calendar, she's gonna be there. So she also, like on the previous podcast, we talked about your book, and then she's got two books, but the one that we talked about last time was what does trust the process mean? And you all, I'm going to leave that information in the description so that you all of her links, social media links, her book links, that you all can go click on the book. It is a really good book to kind of glean from because I do believe in having those tools that you need to kind of help you along your journey. But we can touch on that just a little bit too. When you were writing that book, what point in your faith walk, where were you at that particular point when you wrote that book, when you got like the, download, the epiphany, whatever it was? It's like, you know what? I need to write about this. What brought you to that?
I was in the office one day upset that I wasn't remarried
Is he
because,
all
again, I already told you I had made it an idol. So even after I was done with the divorce, it was, oh, I gotta get remarried. Like I gotta be married again. So just being frustrated that I wasn't remarried. And that stemmed from I didn't know how to be single. Everybody talked to me about, oh, when you get married again, when this, and I was like, and I got frustrated with a friend. I was like, everybody keeps telling me how to be married, but nobody's telling me how to be single.
Mm,
And it's hard because you're single, but it's like everybody's talking about and it's like, okay, like you said, it's a goal. I need to get there. I should be okay as an individual. That's what I need. So the Lord, sitting with him, someone had said that to me that morning. Oh, you just gotta trust the process. And I was livid. Like, don't say that to me again. What does this even mean? So I just went into looking up what the words meant. And I'm a visual person. I like to look at it, sit with it a little bit. And as I'm looking at the definition, I just started writing, and it's an ebook, so not very many pages. I think it's short and to the point, but it can help you of knowing like what does trust the process mean, and it means something different for everyone. It's not just with marriage; it could be with school, it could be with a career choice, it could be with your children. At any rate, there is a process that we're all going through that we may not understand. And it says in the word that he has a plan for us. Keyword, he has a plan. He didn't say it was your plan. So a lot of times we try and take over the plan. You can't do that. It's not yours. It's his plan. So in that, like that's how it all came about where it's like, you know what, let me just write about it and my process. And at the end, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. I understand. So me writing it out for myself ended up being something that other people could use. And that's what normally happens in life. Your tests become a testimony, and you're able to go back and pull people forward, pull them up with you, and say, hey, I understand. I know it's not hard. If I can be a light to show you, it does get better. But where you are right now, you can't rush it. You got to sit with it. You can't move past things or push it under the rug because it becomes a mound, and those mounds start tripping you up in other areas. So just deal with it. So yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
listen, but definitely listen, those seasons that you might wanna rush, you definitely cannot rush them because again, like you were saying, it's not your plan, it's God's plan, and then seasons are seasons for a reason anyway. If we think about the seasons of the year, summer, spring, fall, right? It might be hot as heck in, a state that's normally hot in the summertime. You're like, "Oh, can we hurry up and get to, No, like, it's gonna be this season during the
Mhm.
normal month of what it is supposed to be, unless it's just some we got all types of weather craziness going on right now. Like who knows what's going on right now, but that's what the season is. So I'm glad that you have mentioned that as well. All right, so I always, as you know, friend, ask my guests to leave something to encourage somebody else. And since we're talking about divorce, and I wanted you, the viewer, to hear how impactful Onita's story and her her process of transition has gone, so that you can see for yourself, especially if you're in that place of you feeling like I'm not gonna make it. Like yes, you can. You're gonna make it. But if you could please leave the viewer a word of encouragement, whatever you want to do, if you want to pray, if you want to do all the things, whatever you want, however you feel led, just leave them with something.
Okay, so first off, I would definitely say seek either counseling if that's the way you want to go, or faith. Use your faith by going to a church, getting under some good teaching, not just a say it, spray it, blab it, grab it type of thing. Like get under a preacher that's really going to teach you what the word says and what God says about you. Because at the end of the day, we tend to lose our identity in marriage, and our identity didn't come from it. So you need to go back to the source, and that's God. He's the one who said he made you beautiful in his image and in his likeness. He's the one who said that he knows how many hairs you have on your head. He's the one that says that you're even more special than a sparrow. So why not sit with him and get to know who you really are in Christ? So if something else happens, God forbid, you don't lose who you are again. And you automatically know, well, I already know this isn't going to destroy me. This is something that's happened to me, but I'm going to prevail. So I would also say, sit with it. Don't rush up. Don't just hop up, because when you get up too fast, you get knocked down just as fast because you didn't sit with it. Sit with it. Do a self-assessment, because I'm not saying everything was my ex-husband's fault. There was some self-assessment and some accountability that I had to take within myself. So sit with it, take accountability, do a self assessment, seek the Lord or therapist or both. And they do have therapists who are Christian based therapists, and be encouraged. If I can be an example of what it looks like on the other side, it gets better. The house that we did have, I have a house twice the size on my own. Okay. So if it's about the things, no, he will replace it and it'll be better than it was before. So don't be so caught up in, oh my gosh, I lost this. You can't take it with you anyways. It's a thing, it's a material. Don't get so wrapped up in the materialistic part of it, because whatever you had before, you can have again and you can have it better than you had before. So I encourage you to do the things, do the work, sit within yourself, sit with the Lord. Surround yourself with positive, encouraging people, not people who are going to constantly talk negatively about the other person, because we've already moved past that. We're trying to get somewhere. And if they constantly bring up where you were, you can't move to where you're supposed to be. So do a total assessment of your circle, of yourself. Remember that you can do all things through Christ Jesus who strengthens you. And I guarantee you, you'll look back and be like, wow, look what the Lord has done. It is marvelous in my eyes.
Listen, I love that. Now, oh, so this just came to me, so I'm gonna say it because it's there, so I don't wanna ever not mention something because, it may not be me, it may be the Lord, I don't know. So, I saw something the other day, and it was on social media, and it might have been just like a spiff or like a comedian or something, but it's real life because, it does happen. It was the caption was centered around somebody that's in the marriage pending the thought of, divorce. They know they're gonna get they wanna get a divorce or whatever, right? There is a marital affair that took place, but the woman is constant she's looking at all the things, like the house, the car, the jewelry, the money, and she's thinking like, "I don't know, like, I don't know." And so I'm glad you mentioned, don't worry about the house. Don't worry about the things because they are just things, you know what I'm saying? And you touched on that about, you got to find your identity, in Christ. Can you just one more time, just say like what it is that, you have all of that stuff, right? You had it like when you were married and you will gain
Hmm.
it again. Someone that may be like, I don't know, sis, like I really got it good.
Yeah.
But you're tolerating, what is not God's best for you, obviously, if, it could be whatever. You in an abusive marriage, you're in, somebody that's cheating on you, you're not happy to the point when when I say not happy, I mean, like, you wasn't supposed to marry that person. You know what I'm saying? Like, you selected that person. God didn't select that person, you did. And now you find yourself in this marriage that's like, "This ain't it right here." So, what would you say to that individual? And I don't mean to pull on you,
Oh,
sis, but I just
no,
gotta pull
no,
on
no,
you for
it's fine. A lot of times we get caught up in what we possess, and then those possessions become our identity.
mm.
And at the end of the day, like I said, you can't take that stuff with you. So don't get caught up in the house. You can have the house, the nice car, the clothes, but you're not happy in a relationship and you're going through turmoil on the inside. Like, pick a side. Do you want to be healthy in your total self, or you just want to show people, look what I got? It's not about the things, because at the end of the day, they depreciate, they lose value. But one thing that he's already established, he being God, is our value. We don't need people to give us some type of, "Well, you're this and you're that." No, our value came from the Lord, but we put value in the things that we acquire. And I'm one of them people, I throw everything away. I lost it before. I know I can get it again. It'll be better than it was the last time. So I've never been caught up on the things because they're just things. And I know that with God, he owns all of this, all the ideas to build a house, to build a car, design clothes. Like these ideas didn't just pop up in people's heads. So if you're bound by, oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my house, you don't, how many houses are they building? I mean, you can ride down the street and see a new neighborhood popping up all the time.
Listen,
I'm not trying to be funny or demeaning, but I'm really, I'm in your face, like for real. Like, don't get caught up in, oh, I lost this, because in the other book that I'm a part of, my chapter is called Redemption, because the Lord redeemed every single thing that I thought I lost. I I got it back even better. Like I said, the house, I didn't get the house in a divorce. I didn't want it anyway, but the house that I have now is 2 times that size, and there was ain't no man, ain't no sugar daddy, ain't no friend with benefits, ain't no boo, ain't no husband. That was the Lord and me.
listen.
So, I didn't have to worry about, oh, the house, the cars. Okay, I got a bigger car. I've had 3 cars since then. I'm even able to get my children cars by myself. So, don't worry about the things. He knows what you have need of, okay? He knows the desires of your heart. So if you think that you're gonna miss out on something, you will not miss out on it. It's probably a blessing that is taken away from you anyways, because during a divorce, you go from 1 income or 2 incomes to 1 income. Can you really afford the nice house and the car and all the things while you're going through? So it's like a stripping away for the Lord to build you back up. Allow him to build you back up and build you back up better than you were before.
Mm, that part. Strip me down, Lord, and rebuild me. Yes,
It ain't
I love
fun,
it. Yeah,
but
I was just gonna say that. Look,
okay,
it may not.
it's not a pleasant place, but it's for a reason.
Yes, it is not. It is not. But when it's all said and done afterwards, you're gonna love that afterglow. It is beautiful. So don't ever limit
Yeah.
God to what he can not do because he will surprise you. And listen, viewer, today I wanted you to also partake in the wonderfulness that is everything Onita was putting out. But also, too, once again, if you all look into the description, you will find her website, onitav.com. And again, she's an author. So the book that I mentioned, one of them was What Does Trust the Process Mean? If you once you go to her website, you'll also find her other book that she's a part of, Mothers and Daughters, where she is a co-contributor, co-author. Is it called co-author or contributor? I'm sorry,
Yes.
I don't know. Okay,
Co-author.
co-author. So you'll find both books, which both are very inspiring to add to your book toolkit. So, but thank you so much, friend, for joining me
Thank you for
and for
having me.
thank you for always just being available for me to reach out to and come on and chat it up to encourage somebody, bless somebody along their particular journey. But that is my time. If you all look down in below, I have another episode for you all that you should be able to glean from, I hope, and gain something from it. But until next time, I will see you in the next episode.